This is North Wales. It's where I live. I've lived here all my life, and I've never felt the desire to leave. This is my escape from people, from noise, from the pressures of everyday life. Well, I say escape. Sometimes I'd like to escape somewhere a little bit warmer.
Do you think normal people are at home now with the drive?
Well, they will be, won't they? Because they don't know what else to do.
Sick of it.
Sitting on the couch, bike's there, Stu's there.
Toasting on the brew.
Yeah. How miserable he looks.
Interesting shows about the galaxy. My glasses have just broke.
Oh well, let's that then. Let's something else, huh?
It's alright. Look at that. I think we might just be able to make it to the bottom.
No, I haven't got much choice.
This is my mate Rich. Oh, well done, very clever. He's cycling mad. He keeps telling me he's going to retire soon. I don't know why though. When he mentions work, he just says he's watched films or played snooker. If that were my job, I'd never retire. It's February 2018 and we're in the icy grip of the beast from the east. Every week I'm forced up the mountain, whatever the weather. This weekend is no exception. I've explained that the cold is biting through each and every nerve and fibre. My broken spirit is frozen to the core. Alas, my protests go unheard. He just keeps saying Nick Kershaw. I don't understand.
Cold, wet.
Why do you want to go when it's freezing and pelting?
Because if you don't go all year round, then you just won't go.
It's the second time we've had heavy snow recently, last time being in December 2017. The time before that was March 2013, where several feet fell overnight. In fact, it snowed consistently for most of the weekend, and felled trees as well as people's guttering. It's not that bad this time, but still quite deep, making staying upright hard work. Why go tall? What's the point? What do you get out of it?
Don't know, just getting out.
I know sort of why I go. A lot of the time I don't have a choice. Usually going downhill is the easy bit. Actually it's my favourite part. But in these conditions, one wrong move and you go down like a sack of spuds. And at my age, I might break a hip. To add to the challenge, as it froze last night, under the snow is a layer of ice. And if I thought going downhill was difficult, well, going uphill is even worse. I almost make it to the top of the hill, just failing at the end.
Nearly did it.
I suppose I could have got off and pushed. Just saying. At least the relatively flat surface gives us a bit of respite. Not much further now, and we'll reach our usual stopping point. Time to stop, catch our breath, and talk absolute nonsense. I remember I had that, what was it called? Activator, Rally Activator.
Activator 2.
Horrible bike, so heavy.
Mountain bikes didn't exist before then. Activator 2, black one. Then a GT2 Quester.
Did you have an Activator?
Activator 2.
Oh, right, yeah, I think mine was an Activator 2.
Rally. GT2 Quester, then that Giant, XTC, then the Scott, and now the Cube.
Yeah. I think I've just had the 3. Well, I had a Rally burner. Oh, I need the other camera, don't I? How do I get the other camera up?
Oops. I'm just pressing buttons. Get in the facey. Oh, hang on, it's all back to front. You should throw snowballs for a living.
I'm trying to make it up, yeah. Make snow.
You're trying to make more snow by throwing snow in the air.
Tempted to have a 9-man drag or
Do it.
freezing.
What you got to remember is he wasn't in the snow.
He was, because Rocky was looking for him. He ran up a mountain and he shouted it.
Have we seen the same film?
Yeah.
Perhaps you're right. It was a long time ago, maybe I've forgotten the plot.
Come on, go!
It sounds familiar. Fair dues.
Time to move on. From here, it's downhill pretty much all the way. I'm not really looking forward to it.
I don't like it.
I like it.
There isn't anyone about. I don't think we've seen anyone. They probably have more sense and have stayed in the warm, or at worst case, clearing their drive, or knocking the snow off the conservatory. Actually, I'll have to do that when I get home. Well, that's something to look forward to then. Another issue we'll have to deal with on the way down is the ice cream headache. Do you remember that when you were a kid? You'd eat large amounts of ice cream really quickly, resulting in searing pain just above the eyes. So as we continue on, I start to think about the summer and when it's going to be much warmer, and think about doing a proper run and contemplate where that might take us.
London.
Oh, well, I don't think I want to go as far as that. Maybe just somewhere round here. So this is what we came up with. Starting from my house, I'm going to cycle across the Ponky Banks and into Johnstown, and then en route collect Rich. From there we're going to cycle through into Kevin and then across the aqueduct. We're then going to follow the towpath along the canal that's going to take us into Llangolllen. When we get to Llangolllen, we're going to head up towards Castle Dinas Bran. When we reach there, we're going to come down the other side and then head up towards Trevor Rocks. From Trevor Rocks, we'll then continue across over the mountain and make our way back down towards the mountain gate. From there, we'll head to Bronwylfa and head up to the reservoirs, with hopefully just enough energy to make it back home. It's Thursday 18th of July 2018, the winter far behind us as I get ready to head out. Excuse the bins. The weather is scorching hot in what would turn out to be one of the hottest summers on record. I can't remember the last time it rained. I make my way over the Ponky Banks and head for Johnstown. I plan to take a shortcut that will take me past a local area we call the Flood, home to many ducks and swans. And my mate Sean Roberts caught a perch in there once. Well, we found it washed up dead in the mud. But it's the same thing. Anyway. Out from the Flood and onto the main road. I was at this junction for ages before someone let me out. It's quite early in the morning and I realise that I am in the middle of the rush hour traffic. I need to complete the road sections as soon as possible before I get squished by a VW, Audi, BMW or Peugeot, probably.
I was still asleep and you were coming to look for me.
No, I just got bored then. Someone's coming down the road to shade up for that wall.
Well, I would have been on time, but I remembered then I hadn't put the green bin out.
So we were off. No rain, no snow, no wind, just sunshine.
Right, you're going with Llangolllen plan to get to the canal.
I leave the navigating to Rich. I am on holiday. So far this is easy, no problem. That is until we come across some traffic lights.
This traffic light's a pain in the ass.
He's not wrong. We were there for ages.
I'll tell you that.
Eventually the lights turned green
And then you can go the other way dead easy just to start carry on.
and the journey could continue. We head through Rhosllanerchrugog and cycle towards Cefn. Unfortunately, during the setup, I set my camera so it points directly at the floor. I am an amateur, you know. I don't get paid for doing this. Luckily, Rich set his camera correctly. The big swat. I found it quite easy to keep pace with Rich, though after we'd been travelling for a while, I soon realised that a gap was starting to develop, and my rate of breath was increasing. It was also getting harder to turn the pedals. What could this be? What was happening? Was there a problem with the bike? I could not see Rich having the same issues, so it had to be the bike. Process of elimination. Luckily, a downhill section appeared, and the faulty bike corrected itself, allowing me to catch up.
I got some Prevalin this morning, can you tell?
Was this a confession?
Prevalin. It's stuff that makes you breathe easy. Like an anti-allergy nose spray, but it's what Chris Froome got banned on. I've tried to ban it.
Would it explain the unusual pace being set?
It's a nasal steroid to stop you sneezing. Yeah? No, it was more to do with it being 99p in all bargains.
Just in case there's any lawyers watching, I just want to retract Rich's statement about Chris Froome. He doesn't really know what he's on about. I think he's taken too much Prevalin. I'm absolutely sure there was no, what I would call, funny business going on. And he's completely naturally trained. When I cross-examined Rich, he couldn't produce any evidence to support his claim. Case closed. Now pass me my crossword. Unfortunately, the downhill section ended and the mysterious fault reappeared. Weird. It only appears on long flats and uphill sections. When we stop, I'll check the bike.
Just behind those trees on the left.
There was our first milestone. The Pont Cyclist aqueduct. We had left especially early, hoping no one would be about. This would enable us to ride across the aqueduct without having to dismount to let people past. Back on the road, and very soon we reached the canal towpath. Seems quite easy so far. It's virtually flat from here all the way into Llangolllen, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Oh, I checked the bike by the way. Couldn't find anything wrong with it. According to Rich, the problem is probably to do with my heart and my lungs, and the lack of usage. Piffle. What would he know? Since when did he become a doctor?
He said it didn't matter.
Well, I guess it doesn't now, does it?
That water looks a bit green and murky. En route we discussed the filmmaking process.
It's alright. Just a rewrite.
As I ponder how I will deal with the fact
Nothing better to do.
that Rich has decided to wear different clothes to all the footage we previously shot.
Yeah, but I could have changed my top so I put it on the right.
You might get a name for yourself in the biz as someone difficult to work with.
It's okay though. I'm sure the Academy will look past any small continuity errors. This being my first film and all.
Sorry, said it didn't matter because this was the other stuff that's been incidentally and that.
Yeah, but then I changed my mind without telling you.
Yeah, he didn't talk to me. Your people didn't talk to my people. My bed.
We continue down the canal towpath. I keep thinking that the aqueduct will appear any second now. That's the first person I've seen on the path today. And that's the first barge.
Hi.
And some bunting. Perhaps they knew we were coming and they'd planned a welcome. Or not. Probably not.
Bloody bumpy path, this. I forgot my mudguard as well. That's another continuity error.
I think so far I haven't seen a single corner. How far away is the aqueduct? We must be close by now. As part of the Shropshire Union system, the canal from Hurlstone to Llangolllen thrived until the end of the First World War, after which it saw very little traffic. Navigation was formally abandoned in terms of an Act of Abandonment obtained by the owners, the London, Midland and Scottish Railway, in 1944. The channel was retained as it still supplied water to the main line of the Shropshire Union, and subsequently to the Mid and South East Cheshire Water Board. This arrangement was due to end in 1954, but as there was no alternative supply of water, the powers were extended.
Oh no.
It's very thin, don't fall in. Oh, you don't want a riding shot. Just want a shot.
Just go across normally, innit?
That's such a thing.
Yeah. Just be normal.
Okay.
Yeah. Just do what you usually do.
Isn't it? What about how fast are we on the bikes? What about how far can we go on the bikes?
No.
How many hills can we climb on the bikes? That's the light.
So going up to thingy,
No.
going up to Crow Castle, I'm probably going to be pushing.
No, you can't ride it. You're sorry.
No, even on the roads.
Drive the road. You're wild there. Just keep going.
I can't.
There you go, look at that. Oh, point of interest. It's the aqueduct.
Completed in 1805, the Pont Cyclist aqueduct carries the Llangolllen Canal across the River Dee. It took 10 years to design and build, is the longest aqueduct in Britain, and is the highest canal aqueduct in the world. It was designed by Thomas Telford and William Jessup and cost around £50,000. That's about 4 million in today's money. It was officially opened on the 26th of November 1805. The aqueduct is 336 yards long, 12 foot wide, 5 foot 3 inches deep and stands 126 feet above the River Dee. The way ahead looks pretty clear at the moment, although my main concern right now is making sure that I don't clip the railings with my handlebars. That'll throw me straight into the water. It's looking like we're going to have a pretty clear run, and there's a good chance that we'll be able to get all the way across without having to get off.
That's annoying, isn't it?
Though in the distance, it looks like there could be a blockage ahead.
Thank you.
Show some shots from up here.
Keep going, I'll fall in the bloody river. You alright? Thanks. Ring your bell.
And we were across. We done it. I think that's the first time I've ever been able to get across without having to get off the bike. We decide it's time to stop. We've been on the road for quite a while, and we decide to take a break near the Trevor Basin Visitor Centre. And even though I've done this route before, I completely forgot that we had to carry our bikes across a bridge to get across the river.
Where am I going? Where's over there? Go on then.
Trevor Basin today provides much needed mooring and turning facility for canal barges north of the aqueduct, before venturing on along the narrow navigation feeder channel of the Llangolllen Canal to the Llangolllen Marina. The Trevor Basin has often been referred to as the Tuning Fork, after its shape by locals. The Trevor Basin Visitor Centre is located next to the aqueduct and houses a collection of historical artefacts dating back to the construction of the aqueduct. Visitors can also enjoy the stories from the aqueduct video, how they built the aqueduct animation video, children's activity area and gift shop.
Yeah.
Huh?
At last, a proper chance to get a rest and take some fuel on board. The banana I'd packed had got a bit squashed and was quite warm by now, but I didn't care. I hadn't eaten since 6 AM. With the much needed fuel inside, I didn't want to become a litter bug, so I went in search of a bin. Oh hey doggy.
You alright?
That's one for fans of Tommy Wiseau's The Room. If you haven't seen it, well, you won't know what I'm on about. So watch it, it's really good. By the way, while I was researching Trevor Basin on the internet, I actually got a load of hits for the Victoria Plum Centre. No joke, I've got a good mind to go down there and ask for a Trevor Basin, see what they come up with. not bad. Not even
About 20 minutes, isn't it?
not even 10 o'clock yet. Can you head down? Too dense.
Look, you've just got me tripping over that.
So where are we going?
Back up. Stand canal plan there.
Under there?
No. Can't fit under there. Just go over the top and that side.
Okay. Early pioneering cruises of the waterway were made by Tom Rolt in 1947 and 1949, and despite being officially closed, a number of boats started to use it. There was a growing campaign to reopen it, but it was still designated as one of the waterways having insufficient commercial prospects to justify their retention for navigation under government papers published in 1955 and 1958. It was not until the passing of the Transport Act, 1968, that the route was finally designated as a cruiseway and its future was secured. As leisure use of the canals grew, the route was rebranded as the Llangolllen Canal in the 1980s, and it has become one of the most popular routes for holidaymakers. We're making good time, aren't we? It's only 10 o'clock. Yeah, so wait till it gets a bit lighter.
Open areas and nobody jump up and rock and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right, it's here. Is it? No, next one. So it swoops down, you look down that valley and you've got Crocats along your right and the canal sort of
Its importance in the history of the British canal system was recognised in 2009 when an 11-mile stretch from Gelditch Bridge near Rhosllanerchrugog to Horseshoe Falls, including Pont Cysylltu and Chirk Aqueducts, was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. If you wanted to take a holiday on the canal, barge hire is available and starts roughly around £800. Some of these barges are quite large as well and can sleep 6 to 8 people. You can even take your pets with you. Other features include things like television, DVD players, radiator central heating, showers, galley including cooker, fridge and kettle. If you book at peak time though, obviously it's going to cost more. I checked out some of the rules. Apparently you don't need a licence to drive a boat. There is kind of like a highway code, a bit simpler, and some basic rules you need to follow. You usually find that out from where you hire the boat from though. Ghost boat. Total novices can do this, you don't need any boating experience whatsoever. And the boatyard staff will offer expert tuition as well. They'll provide all the training, help and advice you'll need. Depending on where you are, you'll be travelling at maximum 4 to 7 miles an hour. Cruising about 4 hours a day means 80 to 100 miles in a week. There's lots of different mooring places as well, some of them alongside waterside pubs, restaurants, villages and towns. There might be a small charge, but there's quite a few that are free. One thing you'll need to consider though when travelling on the canal is going through the locks. It doesn't sound that difficult, but it probably is. I saw Penny Smith on the telly once doing it and getting into a right mess. I think it was there anyway, can't remember. And I think they were in France. They may be different there. Some of the time the fuel's included. If it's not, usually you just pay for what you use. Also as well, you get a full tank of water, so you don't have to drink out of the canal. bonus. So if you get a chance, give it a go. Unless you don't like the occasional cyclist gawping in at you. It's a joggist coming. So before we get there, a little bit about Llangolllen. Llangolllen takes its name from the Welsh Llan, meaning a religious settlement, and St Cochlan, a 6th century monk who founded a church beside the river. St Cochlan is said to have arrived in Llangolllen by coracle. There are no other churches in Wales dedicated to St Cochlan, and he may have had connections with Colin in Cornwall and with Llangolllen in Brittany. Above the town to the north is Castle Dinas Bran, a stronghold of the Princes of Powys. Beyond the castle are the Eglwysig Rocks. The outcrop continues north to World's End in Wrexham. The area nearest the castle is the Panorama Walk, and a monument to poet I.D. Hewson from the village Rhosllanerchrugog can be found there. On the outskirts of the town is Plas Newydd, New Mansion or New Place. From 1780, the home of Ladies of Llangolllen, the Honourable Sarah Ponsonby, Lady Eleanor Butler, and their maid Mary Carrill. Today, Llangolllen relies heavily on the tourist industry, but still gains a substantial income from farming. Most of the farms in the hills around the town were sheep farms, and the domestic wool industry was important in the area for centuries. Several factories were later built along the banks of the River Dee, where wool and cotton were processed. The watermill opposite Llangolllen Railway is over 600 years old and was originally used to grind flour for local farmers. They had lovely teeth.
I didn't know it.
Yes, there's only one of us up there.
Only one of you?
Yeah.
And how many are we? 6?
About 6.
One thing I have learnt though, apart from gawping at people in barges, is that when anybody lets you past, say thank you. Hang on, just let this pirate get out of the way.
No, I like a gear. What's the best you?
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, so always say thank you, or you could end up on the business end of something like this.
Why do they never say thank you? You stop the dogs and they don't say thank you.
You could say thank you. Tell him next time.
Oh, it so irritates me. I stop, hold my dog so they can carry on cycling, and they just think it's their right. And I actually object to this. It's becoming a graveyard. All on the canal.
seen one over
There's a few like that up the top of the mountain and all around. Yeah.
It's silly, isn't it?
Yeah.
As they continued to discuss the state of the side of the canal, I looked towards Castle Dinas Bran, Crow Castle. For the first time I suddenly realised this could hurt. The Llangolllen Fringe Festival is an independent arts festival, usually held in mid-July in the town hall. The Fringe includes music, comedy, theatre, dance and workshops. Artists who have taken place in the Llangolllen Fringe include Clement Freud, Rhys Ifans, The Damned, Cerys Matthews, Tracy Emin, Damien Hirst, Juan Martin, Black Seeds, John Cooper Clarke, Will Self, Gang of Four, Lee Scratch Perry and Victoria Corrin Mitchell. Oh, and none of that come off Wikipedia, so it's not even worth checking. I'm sure somebody told me that Band-Aid cohort and perennial chart botherer, Mid-Jure, lives in Llangolllen. I haven't seen him though. I could hear a steam train in the distance and knew we were nearly at Llangolllen.
Hi.
The railway was extended from Raben via Acrevire and Trevor to reach Llangolllen by 1865, operating passenger and goods services. The Raben to Barmouth line became part of Great Western Railway. 100 years later, the line closed under the Beeching Acts of 1964, closing to passengers in early 1965 and to freight in April 1969. The line was lifted in May 1969. However, a 10-mile stretch of the line has been restored between Llangolllen and Corwen and operates as the Llangolllen Railway, a tourist attraction. In 2002, the Rainhill locomotive trials were restaged on the line. Llangolllen hosted the National Eisteddfod in 1908. The Gorsedd ceremony was held on the Hermitage field next to Plas Newydd, and a circle of stones was later moved into the grounds of the hall. The Eisteddfod itself took place on the old vicarage field at Fronhubryd and was visited by David Lloyd George, accompanied by Winston Churchill. The annual Llangolllen International Eisteddfod starts on a Tuesday and ends the following Sunday. It opens with a parade led by the Llangolllen Silver Band, in both which locals and visitors take part in dancing, singing, playing musical instruments. So we'd completed the first leg of our journey, but as I was to find out, the hard bit was yet to come. Next time, I get out of breath.
I've got altitude sickness.
We try to solve a complicated maths problem.
40 pounds. So 7 kilos is a stone.
Right.
On to death.
Rich tells us a scary tale,
Sleep easy. Good night.
and we spot fire on the horizon.